Hey everybody, how you guys doing? I hope everybody is doing well. If it looks like I just woke up from a nap, I did. Okay, not too long ago, but I am feeling refreshed. Okay, much better than I did when I went down. So how you guys doing? Today is Wednesday. Um, hey cousin, I'm really just getting on here because I have not been vocal in a while for several reasons, which everything has a time and a season, right? Like we know this. This is how everything operates, right? So yeah, I've been away, just in my own. I don't want to just say in my own world, but hey, it is what it is. In my own world, healing, um, learning myself, as well as evolving and growing. And let me tell you, it takes a lot of work. You have to be intentional. If you've ever followed me for a period of time, then you know when I talk about this, healing, growing, evolving, like you have to be in it, right? When they say in it to win it, like you got to be in it, you got to be committed, because it has its own process, like you have to go through in order to come out better on the other side. And so I've been focused on that. If you hear some noise and cartoons and stuff, I am a mother to a wonderful 3-year-old, and she is watching some shows, so just disregard the background noise. But anyway, so I wanted to get on here really briefly and talk about how everything has an expiration date, right? Like literally everything that we encounter in life, anything that we will embark on in life, as well as, friendships, um, ourselves. We ourselves as humans, we have an expiration date, right? Like we have a specific and an appointed time to be here. And the same for things in our life. You know, perhaps you are, on a place right now, on a job that you do not like. Well, guess what? Even that job that you're on, it has an expiration date, right? Perhaps you're not happy with your life right now, right? Even your unhappiness has an expiration date, right? Perhaps you're in a lot of pain, right? Perhaps you're sick. Even the illness and all of the pain that you're experiencing right now, it has an expiration date, right? And here's something that a lot of us may not want to face a lot of times because we're people, right? And we need touch and we need to feel connected, and our relationships, our friendships. A lot of times we hold on to people and things. Let me say that, and things, which can in turn to be, habits or whatever the case may be. We want to hold on to these things, but even they have an expiration date. And so, how do you process? How do you get through these things, that you thought would always be there, right? Why do we think that? I don't know. My first guess is to say that, it's the blame society, right? Our conditioning, right? As part of the reason why we think that things will always be the same. But as long as you are living, as long as you are breathing, you are growing, you are evolving, you are learning new things, right? And so you cannot expect to stay the same. Look at the world right now. Look at the world right now, right? Listen, I don't want to speak it, but, it is what it is at this point. I mean, look, these people are trying to get rid of cash. They've been working on it for years in advance with the Bitcoin and everything. And, a lot of people invested in it. I don't know if they really knew what they were investing in and how they were helping things to move to the point of where they are now. But we may very well be approaching a cashless society. Who would have ever thought that you would be living in a world where, cash would not exist, or you would not be utilizing cash, right? Like when I was coming up as, a child, that, hey, that's what we use, cash. I guess I remember my parents or whatever using checks and things of that nature. I wonder even, checks, I guess we're going to be through checks too, maybe? I don't know. But anyway, the point is, that I'm trying to get to is that the world is changing. Everything is changing. You yourself are not exempt. I am not exempt, right? Nobody is exempt from change. And so how do we process and get through these things that have expiration dates, things that we thought would be here forever? Well, when it comes to, healing in this process, in this journey, like I said, you have to be committed to it. And being committed to it is being willing to say, I'm okay with what comes and I'm okay with what goes, and being able to welcome change so that however things fall, right, because we have no control over them, our job is to be okay with it, to be at peace with it, knowing that God is orchestrated, your life to an expected end. And so where it is that you are in your process of life, specific things can't go with you. You can't continue to operate in the same way, right? And so certain friends and certain family members cannot go with you, to this specific place where you are in your journey right now. Now, they may meet you on up and down the road, right? On up yonder, maybe 3 or 4 years later. But right now, in this place and in this space, they are not prepared, right? They are not called to be there with you in this season. And so that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have a falling out with an individual, or that you don't have to like this individual just because they're no longer, a part of your process. Now, truth be told, there are sometimes situations like that will occur, if we're trying to hold on for something too long and we utterly refuse to let it go, then sometimes, things call for certain situations to blow up to the point that the ultimate will occurs, and that's your separation, right? But not all the time is that necessary. And so in that case, you just have to learn to love them, from a distance. And sure enough, they could be a childhood friend, a cousin, somebody that you loved, or, an aunt, whoever, uncle, anybody, somebody that you thought would always forever be there with you along your journey. But growth does not occur that way all the time. And so you just have to be okay with things falling off, right? Such as with a career, right? You may be on a job right now that you love, that you thought you would, retire from, right? Maybe you've been there 10, 15 years. But maybe life is calling for you to start your own business, or to start a nonprofit organization where you are teaching the very skill sets that you learned on that job for 15, 20 years, Maybe that is your calling, your season right now. And so you thought that you would always be there at the job, but life is saying otherwise right now. And so what do? right? Ultimately, we go through a period of, grieving, so to speak, um, because after 10 to 15 years, you've probably adjusted to certain things on the job, people, on the job, your coworkers, the environment, whatever the case may be. And so, yeah, there is a period with anything that, with any situation where there is separation, there is most likely a period of grief. But what do? You grieve. You do what you have to do. But knowing at the end that this process that you are going through is not ultimately to hurt you, right? Is not to hurt you, but it's to expand you, to create a space, right? To bring clarity, to allow you to open up, to be vulnerable to the thing that is new, to the thing that God is trying to do in your life, to the place where God is trying to get you to, right? To that level of achievement, to that level of success. And so it's all natural. It's all natural. Sometimes we shoot ourselves in the foot, or we get in our own way by not being willing. And see, here's the good thing about God. Here's the good thing about life, right? All you have to do is be willing, right? That is the biggest key that I have learned even in my own process, is that you just have to be willing. And with a willing heart, things just happen. It just happens, versus you holding on with a fist, not willing to let go. And ultimately, we end up hurting ourselves. And I know you've probably seen that meme. This is just coming to my mind. This meme where it says where I guess the hands in the picture were bleeding because they were holding on to something that they ultimately should have let go. And when we don't release certain things or people or our past from our lives, then we end up hurting ourselves. And let's talk about that really quick. Our past, right? Because this happens to be the biggest limitation for us sometimes as people, right? And even others that are surrounding us, right? Some people just don't want to let us go from our past. They want to remember us for who they used to know, or the person that they used to roll with and kick it with and throw it back with, or whatever the case may be, right? Memories, right? They want to keep us in that place, right? But that place was always temporary. And we ourselves, sometimes, we are uncomfortable, right? Because healing and growing is uncomfortable. I have said it. I will say it again. It is uncomfortable. And a lot of people don't like being uncomfortable. That is the truth about us humans in this here digital age, right? We want things fast, and that's it, right? Like you want your Amazon packages, 2-day shipping. You want stuff fast, right? But life doesn't work that way, okay? And so, things take time, right? So with that, we hold even ourselves. We want to stay in, our past because, this is how things have always been. I'm used to it this way. I'm used to her, doing these things and I'm okay with it, right? Or I'm used to, going to this job and just having, this limited responsibility, and it's cool. I'm not really making a whole lot of money there. I'm not really thriving there, but hey, I've been here for 10 years and it's cool. It's good with me, right? Well, sorry, but you can't always stay there. Life can't always be as you thought it would be, because ultimately, if you are called, right? Ultimately, God had a much bigger plan for your life than you do yourself, right? And so a big part of this process also is being able to trust. It's the willingness and also being able to trust that everything that is happening right now in your life is supposed to happen and that it's for your greater good, right? You have to believe in that. You have to trust in that. And faith in life is so important. It's so important. It is so important, right? And it's probably where we are hit and where we are challenged the most, right? Um, because at any point doubt can creep in, as it does. What you gonna leave the job for? What are you gonna do? Why are you? There's nothing else better, right? That's what we think. That there's nothing else better out there in the world for us. So let me just state right here, and that is a lie. It's a lie. But you have to be willing, right? You have to be willing, and then you have to believe otherwise and hope otherwise, right? And so I just wanted to come on here really briefly just to encourage you guys that everything has an expiration date and it's okay. It may not always feel good. It may not look like what you initially planned for your life, but ultimately if you trust the creator of this world, then you have to know that it is happening for a reason, right? And that it's okay to trust it. And it's okay to be uncomfortable for this period of time because you know on the other side it's going to yield much greater results than you thought possible or even imagined for yourself. All right? So I'm going to go now because my lighting is going away. That's a joke. I'm being funny. But no. Thank you guys for tuning in. If this message did inspire you, please share. I appreciate it. I appreciate the time that you took to sit here and listen to me as well. It is Wednesday. I hope the rest of your week is blessed. Peace.